Congratulations.
Good for you.
And I'm engaged.
Excellent. This is an excellent report,
Yeah,
Grasshopper.
good for you.
It was just so much
That's great.
good things.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to go? 7 o'clock.
Okay, is this new, this must be the new
Oh, hi, Mr.
person.
Dasher, how are you? Good.
Good evening. It is 7 p.m., and I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Inland Wetlands Commission to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of April 17th. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? Are there any corrections, deletions, additions? Have a motion approved by Mr. McCann, seconded by Mr. Wright. All in favor? Okay. Next item, old business, permit 208-11, which is tabled. I need a motion to take it off the table.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to take permit 2008-11 off the table.
Second? Mr. Cinto, all in favor? All right. Now, the last meeting, we had the applicant is here, represented by,
Nicholas Owen, 4 Whippoorwill Lane, Stratford.
last minute meeting, the applicant submitted some documents, and this was tabled in order for us to have a look at those documents.
Correct, and after reviewing the new delineation that was submitted, it is substantially the same as the delineation that was performed for the property in 2008.
That was the question before us that needed to be answered. Are there any other questions or comments, Mr. Hoyt?
Yeah, I mean, the other big question that I had was more information on the subdivision of the lots. I know I asked the question, and I asked the applicant that if anybody, if the one person here would require it, would be me. And I don't know if he's given any more information to Tina or submitted anything else.
I have seen no plans for development on the individual lots.
McCann?
Did you suggest, Mr. Owen, that at the last meeting you thought you would come back with separate applications if we,
For each lot.
for each lot?
Yes, that's correct, but I would like to address what Tina just said. If she did not see the application that was submitted to the planning department, that was submitted to her along with a proposed 4-lot subdivision, something is wrong with the process in the town hall. Because I know, and I spoke directly with Susmitha, I can't remember her last name, but the planning administrator, and she sends these plans over to all of the departments. Now that application, I'm speaking too loudly, that application for a 4-lot subdivision was submitted to the Planning Commission, accepted, and is going to be heard on the 21st. So it is proposed for a 4-lot subdivision. Proposed is the important word here. I do not know, standing in front of you, whether the Planning Commission is going to approve in full the 4 lots, approve with modification to those lots, i.e., move the lot lines one way or the other, move the setbacks one way or the other. Although I will tell you, Mr. McCann, what we have proposed complies completely with the planning regulation and fits within their jurisdiction to waiver what needs being wavered up to 15%. Let me go a little bit further so you understand. I want everybody to understand this. The Planning Commission can turn around and say to me, we don't like the 4 lots, we want 3. Now, assuming the Planning Commission approves the 4-lot subdivision, we will then come back with 4 individual applications for each lot to show the Commission where the septic systems go, where the leaching field go, where the reserve system goes, and how the wetlands is going to be protected that pretty much surround this whole property. Now, my understanding when the Wetlands Commission initially approved it, the wetlands permit that we're speaking about tonight, looking for the extension, they approved the crossover and all of the surrounding wetlands, although it doesn't specifically say that all of the wetlands are included in that approval of the crossing. But it makes sense that, because our plans show all of the protections, all of the fencing, all of the bells and whistles that's required under the permit to do that. So, to me, if I filed separate applications on a plan for a proposed 4-lot subdivision, what am I filing? It's proposed, it's not approved. Therefore, we need to come back. We know we need to come back to this commission on an individual basis for each one of the lots that's approved by the Planning Commission.
And I do have to clarify myself, I'm sorry. So what I saw that you had sent to the Planning Commission was for, yes, a subdivision, and it had, outlines of where the houses would be, but there was nothing given to us as far as an inland wetlands application for each one of those separate lots.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. That's what we're here about.
Exactly. I just wanted to clarify,
Okay.
but that's per the conditions of the permit that was granted in 2008, that the application for development of each individual lot was supposed to have been submitted to the Inland Wetlands Department before you could move forward.
All right. Now, that's where you and I...
And we also said last year when we granted the first permit extension that we needed those applications for individual lot development if we were to extend the permit further.
Let me just finish. Yeah. Unfortunately, Tina, in one sense, you are correct. You and I got into a little bit of a to-do at the first hearing of, and I think I used the term, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Which I get.
What am I, if I'm submitting 4 applications for individual lots on a piece of property that I don't have approval for, what am I doing?
I get your argument. I understand where you're coming from.
And it's important.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
I did not want to appear before the commission 4 or 5 times and go, here I am again with the same old song. The Planning Commission said I got to move the lot. You turn around and say, well, you moved the lot line. Now you have to come back with an additional application. I didn't want to do it, but I do have overall wetlands approval, and that's what is important to us.
I understand where you're coming from, but again, all I could say is the rules are the rules. I'm just saying what the regulations state, and it's up to the commission to decide how to proceed.
All right, I will
I'll leave
allow
it at
Attorney
that.
Bellis to make some comments because he's itching to make some comments, and I will. No. All right.
This is standard operating procedure. You come to the wetlands, you have to, by law, come to wetlands at or prior to filing your subdivision application. So he's not doing anything that is unusual. We're coming to the Wetlands Commission, asking for your blessing, and then you file your application to the Planning Commission for the subdivision. What he said and what I think you're saying are the exact same thing. We are agreeing. If you approve this tonight, we agree to come back for individual site plan approval of each lot. That's what we're saying. I think we're saying the same thing.
With the jeopardy that we may not give you 4, we may give you 1 or 2 or 3. You understand that, right?
It's up to the commission, yeah, to see if there's a significant impact on that lot, yeah.
Well, you owe me a couple hours of sleep over this one. I mean, this.
Oh, that would be Nick, not me.
Yeah, you're in
I'm in the
yeah,
clear.
this is a tough one, in terms of just trying to renew a permit. But I had to look at it, and I got to tell you, Mr. Owen, I mean, you and I go back, 40 years?
47 years.
Of fighting. Yes, I know. And well, whatever. At least one of us does. But as a commissioner, we have the responsibility of completely and legally evaluating all the elements of a wetland application. That includes hydrology, on-site septic, pollution, biological impacts, and all the rest of those things, which we've done many, many times. In this application, I think we've become very, very limited in that ability because we don't have all that information in front of us. So I find it very uncomfortable and somewhat unprecedented to say, yeah, okay, this is good at first blush with the promise that you're going to come back.
It's not a promise, Mr. It's a requirement.
Oh, okay, requirement, whatever, semantically, whatever it is. It kind of, puts us in a situation where we almost, it sounds like we are abdicating some responsibility by re-upping this. Because we haven't, go ahead. What
What I was going to say is, I don't know how you are abdicating any responsibility, since it's a requirement under the permit to file the applications on the approved individual lots. We don't know. Again, I'm being redundant to ad nauseum here. We don't know if the Planning Commission is going to approve 1, 2, 3, or 4.
I understand that.
So what am I applying to you guys for at that point? I may be applying for 3. You may turn around and say, Mr. Rowan, we're only going to give you 2.
So what do you think we're actually giving you tonight in terms of this application?
You are giving me an extension on my original approval, period. You're not saying, don't worry about filing the 4 lots or the 3 lots or whatever's approved. You know you have to come back and do that. We have met all of the other requirements under that permit. Other than this, we paid our fees. We have appeared before the commission. Some of the requirements, this particular one couldn't be met because we don't have approval yet. We've been unable to obtain approval.
I think we all understand that, but it's still somewhat, like as I said before, unprecedented for us to put together a permit that doesn't have all those elements. I would like to hear from other commissioners.
Well, just thinking ahead, so the reason that we've been asking for the applications for development of the individual lots, it would also be to your benefit to give them to us because we'd have the chance to review it. If we decide that any one of those developments could have a significant impact on the wetlands, we might decide not to allow development on any one of those lots to begin with. So then after that, after we make that decision on how many lots we would give you for development, then you would go to planning and see if it's also okay with them. So
That's not how it works, though. That's not how it works, Christina.
yeah, because you come to wetlands first.
We are coming to you with the overall initial approval of the wetlands, which the commission granted.
for the
Agreed.
for the road,
For a
road
road.
to
And-
access 4
and
lots.
for a proposed 4-lot subdivision. It's not approved, so what am I asking you for? I don't have 4 individual lots. In my opinion, I shouldn't be filing 4 separate applications for 4 individual lots because they're not approved. What am I saying wrong that some of you aren't getting? Tell me what I'm saying wrong here.
It says right in the regulations that for when you're planning to do a subdivision, that application has to go to inland wetlands and the Planning/Zoning Commission simultaneously,
And-
or wetlands first.
And we did. We filed the wetlands application, and it was approved. The conditions were that we have to file individual applications for each one of the lots. We don't have designated lots yet.
Okay.
That's in front of the Planning Commission for next week. I'll tell you, this is what I think could happen or should happen. You want to give me the extension? I think it's appropriate to give me the extension of our initial approval. We have violated no regulations out there. As I indicated at the first 2 hearings, we've done no work. We haven't impacted the wetlands at all. We can't cross the wetlands yet. We don't have approval of the subdivision. So this is what I propose.
And I think
Let me finish. Let me finish my whole thought.
Go ahead.
We go before the Planning Commission, and hopefully the Planning Commission says, yes, we are going to approve your 4-lot subdivision. I will immediately, to make sure that all of our notations and our records are correct, and file those applications before the Wetlands Commission. You can make that a condition of the extension if you want. We have to do that anyway. Now, I may turn around and say, guys, ladies, they only approved 3 lots. Here's your 3 applications. Go ahead. They may say 2. They may say 1. I don't know what they'll say.
Nick, I just think the frustrating part for us is that it's been 10 years. The application was approved over 10 years ago at this point.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what frustrates a lot of the people here, is that all of the public hearings, all of the record that went into establishing the terms of the permit was done over 10 years ago now. Honestly, I mean, I barely know anything about what happened 10 years ago. I've read all the records I could find, but still, I wasn't there.
If you think you're frustrated, imagine our frustration. We are over $40,000 in attorney's fees. And you're going to tell me it's not your problem. We are almost $28,000 in plans and studies. You're going to tell me it's not your problem. We fought, wait a minute, let me finish. We fought 2 lawsuits. I know, you're going to tell you it's not your problem, but it is your problem, because that is in part, in a large part, what held this project up.
But going back to the appeal, I believe it was the appeal, which was upheld by the Supreme Court, and it said, was it Supreme Court or Superior Court? I'm sorry if I'm...
You're talking about the waiver, 3.14.
I'm sorry if I'm
That's all right.
misspeaking about it, but, I mean, they said that when the applicant purchased the property and decided to develop on that property or propose development on that property, they knew what the restraints were going to be from the zoning commission. They knew that they were going to have a variance for the development to occur within 50 feet of the wetland. So, I mean, it was known from the time that the property was purchased that that would be a hurdle to overcome. And it's now been 10 years. And it seems like you're still just hitting a brick wall with it.
We're not going to be hitting a brick wall much further, because if there is an issue with the Planning Commission and they deny it based on 3.14, we are immediately going to court with it, because there are issues out there, there are sightings, there are other jurisdictions where it would not apply under the zoning regulations, that the zoning commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't have the legal authority to rule on wetlands. That's vested in you guys.
That's on the Planning Commission,
Right.
what they decide to do.
Right.
That's absolutely what they decide to do. And, I mean, it's for the commissioners here to decide whether they want to grant the permit extension or not.
Guys, we're asking for an extension so we can continue the process and finish it.
Chairman, may I say so? It seems to me, and I've sat on many of these, the jeopardy is all on the applicant. He may not get any subdivision. He may get 1, he may get 2, he may get nothing. The wetlands permit has not changed. It is in our purview to extend this. If we don't, we're here to help, we're not here to hurt anyone, and it's going to hurt the applicant. Irregardless of how anybody else feels about it, I think this should be approved. We should renew the application. He's going before planning. And I think it's coming to the end on this. I know it's been a long time, but nothing has changed on the wetlands. Am I correct? There's no deleting, nothing has changed.
No, there has been no change.
Okay. And the main thing, if the applicant did not have to come back here for the subdivisions, I would vote no on this, but he has to. So there is no, I don't see any downside to extending it. That's the way I feel. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, anything
What's
else
your
you'd like to
pleasure,
hear
Mayor?
from me? You understand what we're trying to achieve, everyone. Thank you.
Gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Somebody's got to make a motion.
I want to make a motion, we extend the application.
We have a motion made by Mr. Cinto.
Sorry, we need to add one thing. How long would the extension be?
Well, I was going to wait for the discussion period.
Yeah, well, that's another, what did we extend last time, a year?
Last time it was extended for a year.
I
And
don't-
would we keep the same conditions that?
Absolutely.
Within this, if we were to extend, within the coming year, the applicant would have to, without a doubt, submit the plans for development of the individual lots. And we could explicitly state in the extension that no further extension will be granted if plans for lot development are not received.
Right. And I'm not sure that we, with all due respect to Mr. Owen, that it necessarily even has to be a year. I mean, it sounds like they're trying to accelerate it as quickly as possible, so. A year,
Well, I don't
I guess a year is probably, is,
So let's think about it logically. So
But-
we're coming up on summer. I have a feeling there might be a lot of meetings that get, canceled.
Will be
or
canceled.
postponed.
All right.
So maybe give it I would say 6 months minimum, a year maximum.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment. 6 months minimum, 1 year maximum, depending on a caseload of planning,
But we
like,
have to choose one of
Gotta
those
pick one or the
numbers.
other.
oh, I'm sorry.
no, not 6 months minimum. This, 6 months.
I understand.
Or anything up to a year. Well,
No, you have to,
all right,
the way
it
this-
sounds like there's consensus is a year.
1 year, it has to be a year, because,
all right,
I
we have a
mean,
motion
we-
to extend it for a year.
All right,
Is there
now,
a second?
oh, absolutely.
well,
Is there a second? Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second the motion then.
All right, any discussion, any further
But
discussion?
the continued discussion, now the conditions are going to have to be, exactly as you stated them as a part of it. So any motion in terms of an extension that's passed is that it is a conditional extension with all the aforementioned conditions involved. I mean, I hope that's understood.
Yes,
And those conditions include reappearing with specific plans for each and any lots that are approved in this subdivision
Right.
by the planning commission.
yeah,
That's
absolutely,
understood.
So it's
absolutely,
these
yes.
4 conditions that are listed on.
Yes.
And there will be no, I'll state specifically in the extension approval that there will be absolutely no extensions beyond this if plans for lot development have not been submitted. Applications for lot development have not been submitted.
So now it would be extended to April 18, 2020. Because it
Correct.
says here is extended, so that's not.
Correct. And so we'll extend a year. All right, so the permit expired in April. It was April 18th, yeah?
It says here.
April 18th, so we would give you till April
April
18th of 2020. Is that acceptable? So that's slightly less than a year.
All right, any further discussion? We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Extended for 1 year. Moving on, new business. We have no new business. Staff report? What do you have to report, Ms. Baytow?
Nothing. Well, as of probably June 14th, I will no longer be the conservation superintendent. I accepted a position in West Palm Beach, Florida, to be a professor of biology. So this fall, I'll be starting that new job. No, professor of biology at a university. Yeah, Palm Beach Atlantic.
Well, I think... Yeah.
But I'll still be with the town as a consultant, perhaps indefinitely, so you might not have seen or heard the end of me yet. So I'll be, yeah, I'll be doing some of the brownfields consulting remotely and also continue with environmental grant writing for the town. It's nice to have a professor schedule. I won't have to work in the summer.
I
so
say
I'll be
good for
back in
Tina.
Stratford.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I'm excited. And I'm engaged.
Other than that, it's been a slow week.
Other than that, not much happening. There's a lot. Thank you. It's really exciting.
So
But,
this may be your last meeting then.
I think I'll still, since I'm still gonna be around in June and I'll still be on as a consultant,
Oh,
if there's anything that comes
Comes in.
Okay,
and we have to have a meeting, I'll come.
So,
okay.
And even up until the time when we get a new superintendent, now I think room 213 is like capable of doing like go-to meetings in Skype. So I might be able to participate remotely.
screen in there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk to Dave Wright in case we get to that where they don't have another superintendent by the time I'm gone. So we'll see. Other than that,
That's it?
that's it.
Administrative permits?
Oh, there was an administrative permit, I think. Hold on, I can't remember.
I know there was one in the paper yesterday.
Yes, sorry. There was an administrative permit application 2019-3A, property grading within upland review area of wetlands consisting of approximately 600 square feet of excavation in rear of property with about 500 square feet of material being placed in the side yard. All areas to be disturbed are about 1,100 square feet in total and are currently maintained as a lawn. That's at 220 Clinton Avenue in Stratford. It's nothing major, it's,
That's the one that was in the
property.
paper yesterday.
Have you heard anything from the town attorney about the?
Oh, the tree guy.
Yeah, the whippoorwill.
I'm still working with him on it, so what I need to do is, at this point, we're gonna have to, if we want, we could go in and do the restoration, but then we have to lien the property, which is what it would
He's
come
got no money, he's not
But
gonna
the
pay.
thing is, yeah, they never submitted a bond in the first place, so there's no money to
We got no
take
leverage
from.
on him. So if we
Yeah.
restored it, we were doing it.
So,
I would like to request that we get an official town attorney
Yeah,
statement
this-
as to what they believe our protocol,
Well,
what our.
I think we should get an opinion from the attorney, and we should ask him, can you put a lien on the property?
Yeah,
Foreclose it.
well, yeah, but I want them to give us the process, because we have to, I think, have to be the lead
Foreclose
in
and
that
sell it at
regard, don't
auction.
we?
he wrote me an email, I got him.
So they have to give us at least some sort of scenario that they want us to follow.
Yeah.
Right, because we should have some leverage to go after the
Oh,
property.
I think we have all the leverage, but I think it's just a process.
Bruce
Too bad we don't have the town attorney here with
Bruce
us.
Jackson had mentioned something to me in passing about how we could handle it, and to be perfectly honest, it went in and out. I just was so busy at the
Oh,
time.
you probably did.
No, that's fine. We understand, it's understandable. But could you ask them to supply it for
I
the next
will.
meeting?
I definitely will.
Okay, that'll be great.
Because honestly, that has been
Yeah.
a frustrating
Is,
application.
I'm sorry, this is on where?
This is on Whipple Lane where the guy clear cut.
He wasn't supposed to clear cut it, right?
Right.
No. It was in the upland review area of a wetland. He clear cut the property. We ordered him to do,
Restoration.
He came in with a good plan,
Yeah.
with a good consultant, with good
He
restoration.
didn't do it, that's all.
no.
He never got a
Because
mortgage or something, he got no money.
it was like a two-part permit. He had to do the restoration before he was able to do the development, which we approved. Either planning or zoning commission rejected his plans for development. So he was like, oh, I'm not getting the house that I want. I'm just gonna pretty much walk away. There's no reason for me to restore. So that's where that situation currently lies, unfortunately.
Anything else under Commissioners' Forum? Next item on the agenda, adjournment. We have a motion. Mr. Blake, Mr. Cinto, all in favor?
Could-
Meeting adjourned, thank you.
Hey, Mr. McCann, on that, the tree guy we're talking about, could they come in with a blight lien? The one where he clear cut, could the town throw a blight lien on him for blighting the property?
I doubt it. What we have to proceed with is that he was given, from our side, he was given a notice of violation of the wetland regulations. And with the appropriate jeopardy that goes with that, and he completely ignored it. He came in with the plan that he came in with. He hired a consultant to put together a restoration plan, but he just blew us off. We didn't get a bond, we didn't get anything, so he just decided to take a hike, and so we're between a rock and a hard place here. I mean, we have to do what we're obligated to do, and that's, you know, continue to get this area restored as he promised to do.
Well, the reason I talk about wetlands is because I serve a lot of wetlands for the town. If we have to come in and restore it, we hire somebody to do it, and we would lien the property for the amount of money.
Well, we have the commission has the obligation to hire people, and you know, send the applicant, if you will, the bill. But that's why I'm saying, that's why we need the town attorney. That's why we need the town attorney to tell us the best way to do it, because we don't want to spend town money doing something and then just get blown off again.